What's up, guys? So today we're going to be talking about how to get your Jeep ready for winter. Just kind of the things that I do to make sure that the winter experience goes as best as possible. It does suck, but so I'm just going to be telling you guys what I do to my Jeep just to make sure it's ready for winter. And yeah, so first of all, what you definitely want to make sure your tire pressure is at the correct level. Sometimes when it gets cold, you can kind of lose some air pressure. So definitely check your air pressure. And if you have stock tires, so as you can see right here, if you have the stock tire setup, it'll tell you exactly what PSI your tires need to be at. So for the stock tires in this one, it says 33 PSI cold, and then pretty much all 33. So I don't have my stock tires anymore, so that does not apply to me. I chalked my tires, so if you haven't seen that video, definitely check that out. I chalk it, so you draw some chalk in your tire and drive around and see where the wear is happening, and then based off of that, you either raise or lower your tire pressure. So I have my tire pressure up and good and ready to go. So another important thing is going to be under the hood. So important thing to check is your engine coolant. Make sure that's at the correct level. And if you have a 2.5 liter, you want to check it when the engine's warm, and then with the 4 liter, check it when it's cold. So right now I'm right at the fill line. If you're low, top it off. Make sure you got your windshield washer fluid, because when it snows and gets all slushy and salty on your windows, you're going to want to be able to clean off any ice or any of that salt stuff. So make sure you're topped off on washer fluid. Might as well check your brake fluid just to be sure that that's in a good order. Check your power steering, make sure that's good. Then what I would recommend is go have your battery tested. Make sure your battery's in good working order, because if you lose your battery in the middle of winter, it's going to suck having to replace it when it's freezing cold. So definitely get your battery checked. And another great thing to have is always have a set of jumper cables with you in your Jeep, or have the it's like the little self jump start boxes that you can buy. I'll throw a picture of what I'm talking about on the screen now, but it's definitely a good idea to have one of those just in case you're in the middle of nowhere and your battery does die and there's no one else around to help you jump it. You can jump it yourself. So definitely have one of those. That's definitely a good thing. And another thing that would be smart to get is if your Jeep does die in the middle of winter and you're stuck in your Jeep, I'd get one of those survival blankets, the one that reflect your body heat back towards you off the blanket. I'd pick up one of those. Those are super cheap, and you can probably just throw one of those in your center console or your glove box. That's probably a very good thing to have, just in case your Jeep breaks down or doesn't start when it's super cold like today. I think it's 10 degrees out today, so be pretty bad. But once it gets really cold, it gets in the negatives here, and then even more with the wind chill. So it's definitely a good idea to have some type of blanket, either that survival blanket or just a thick blanket that you can have in your Jeep. So another thing that I like to do in the wintertime is I try to wash my Jeep as much as possible. Most of you guys know that the Jeeps rust really bad. And in places like where I live, where they salt and use all sorts of chemicals, if you just let that sit on your Jeep all winter, you're going to have some major rust issues. So definitely do your best job at cleaning off your Jeep with all that salt as much as possible. I'm figuring out how to get water out here, because the problem is when it's too cold, the pipes can freeze. So I have to figure something out where I can have, I think I'm going to try to have a spigot inside the garage, and then basically turn the water on and off every time I get home so I can wash my Jeep. Because before, I would go in the house and grab buckets of water and douse it, and that just takes way too long. So I've done that for the past 2 years, and I'm kind of done with doing that. But I want to keep up on the Jeep. So I'll figure out a way to get water. I think I'll probably just pull them up there. It might be an ice skate rink later, but it's going to be worth it versus having the Jeep get full of rust. But other than that, so make sure your tire pressure's up. Make sure you know, all your fluids are topped off. You know, make sure your oil, I didn't say that, check your oil dipstick, make sure you got oil in it. And if you do change your oil, depending on how cold it gets, the Jeep in the manual does say below a certain temperature, use this kind of oil. Well, actually, I'm gonna go get the manual here and see if I can find that for you guys. So this is what I was talking about with the engine oil and the temperatures. So it says to use 5W30 if you're anywhere from 32 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and then 10W30 if you're from 0 degrees to 100 degrees. So based off of this, if you live in a super cold climate, you know, use the correct oil. I usually run 10W30. Sometimes it gets below freezing, but my Jeep's usually always in the garage. So, and usually it's above 0. There are times where it's, you know, below 0 for many, for a couple of weeks. So that's just something to consider. But this is what they do recommend, is putting different oil in the Jeep if it's, you know, really cold for a long time. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Another thing that is going to be super helpful is going to be an ice scraper. So definitely get an ice scraper. Do not touch your plastic windows. If you have a soft top, do not touch those. Leave those, or you can kind of, once your Jeep's kind of heated up inside, you can kind of tap the sides here, and that should help that come off. But you can scrape here. Obviously all the glass, don't scrape any of the body, but it's nice to have a window scraper just in case you do get caught, you know, if it snows and then you come outside and your Jeep's windows are frozen. So make sure everything's in working order, basically, because if nothing, you know, if things are not working, working on them or being stranded when it's cold is pretty dangerous. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if you have anything to add to this video. I'd be curious to see what some of you guys do for winter. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Definitely consider subscribing. That helps me out a bunch, guys. And I will see you guys in the next video.